All right, so today we're talking about technology. So both myself and Zach, we were both 90s kids, so this is a topic very near and dear to us. Starting off in the 90s, we came in the beginning of the technological boom. So before Y2K and the millennium and before the whole internet boom, we were those kids who knew of the internet but wasn't really made for us.
Yeah, this is back whenever we had dial-up.
Landlines. Antique video games, if you would look at it now.
Yeah, Super Nintendo.
They don't even compare, even though, there's a whole retro business, but the stuff we grew up playing with wouldn't even phase our kids. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
But all that changed with the internet. So with the internet, all these phones that they have coming up, now there are so many different makes and models. They do everything else except for what you want them to do. One of the most frustrating things now is getting on the phone and not being able to just get on the phone and make a phone call or have it drop. But it's all thanks to the internet and technology.
Yep. These kids got it good.
Yeah. Even to the fact that what we're doing right now, like us recording and recording a podcast and putting it on the internet, it all came down to technology.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I feel nostalgic about is when it comes down to technology is just watching the growth of like the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about you, for my family, we were really big on Nintendo.
Okay.
Like my parents just felt like it was the safest of all the game systems. So I started off with the 64. Then I went to the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy DS, Game Boy 3DS, Nintendo Wii. Now I'm on to the Switch with Lexi.
Okay.
So I've been a Nintendo child since day one.
Well, you got it good because my first console was a PlayStation 1, and I didn't get any other console until like last year for the PlayStation 4.
That's a big gap.
Yeah, and in between all that, I've just been casual gaming on my phone. So, I didn't get the luxury of having a Game Boy and a Game Boy Advance and all these other things that you mentioned, because before the PlayStation 1 or the very first one that's gray, not the white one, but gray, I used to go to my friend's house and just play N64 all day, So
you had to get the hookup through somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, even just that notion as 90 kids of just knowing that, hey, you might not have it, your parents might feel some type of way about it, so you can go over your friends, but you still had to go outside to get to them. Now these kids all day just stay inside. They get access to all the systems. If they don't have a system, they can do it all on their phone.
Yeah.
Or get on the computer. Computer gaming is still at an all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is really big. But why do you have such a big gap in your gaming systems? Were your parents opposed to it?
Money. We were broke.
Hey,
it's just like you
got to pay the cost.
You had to pay the cost. Like we're talking like $400, $500 for a console. And if you want like an expansion pack of some sort, you had to pay that extra money. And I was just more on the realm of like, I have a phone already. So that's not a problem, but I don't know.
What about like adolescence, like before you had the phone? Let's bring it back to pre 2000
AOL. Honestly, dude, when I say I did not have a game console, I really mean like I had to come up with other means of entertainment besides video games. Arcade. Nah.
Talk about this. This sounds archaic.
It is.
Life before technology.
To this day, I think about like, how did I get to this point where I can play video games now? But beforehand, it was like a nuisance. It was like, I don't have to worry about gaming. Like it's, I was that kid who just went outside and played, or I was just that kid who would draw all the time, or hoop a lot. That was it. That was my gaming.
Zach hooping? Young Zach?
Yeah,
on the court?
I didn't win a lot of games.
It's about the effort. You had
heart. It was
heart.
about the effort. I had the heart,
I feel like I grew up with a nice mix. There were times was like, all right, you go outside and enjoy fresh air, go play with your friends. But yeah, my parents always supplied a Nintendo gaming system. They felt like I said it was one of the safer of the different consoles between the PlayStation and Xbox. Just due to the gaming's ratings, pretty much. We don't have to go too deep into the rating system, but like Nintendo games for the most part are pretty PG.
They're pretty PG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
or E for everyone, basically.
Yeah, E for everyone type thing. But I think 97 I got the 64, and like it's just always been something that I've always just had. I think with the blow up of like Pokemon and stuff, like that's where it was always something to keep me busy.
Yeah, and that's whenever I'd hit up my friends on the landline and be like, "Hey, let me come over," or like literally I'd be like, "Hey, I'm gonna come over, today after school, and we're gonna play some video games. My game, or our favorite game, to this day is Super Smash Brothers.
Definitely.
Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, GoldenEye, good games to play with your friends. And a lot of trash talking too. Great times.
Yeah, that's why they've remade it pretty much on every system.
Every single system.
I was reading an article the other day about the Switch's sales and how they've continuously outgrown and maxed out. Well, not maxed out the business, but I mean they've continued just to push forward any type of projections, and it's really due to Nintendo revisiting their classic games. So if it's the Mario, the Mario Karts, the Smash Brothers, as long as they continue to recreate these games and expand them, they're always going to have a market. Like that's majority of us that we grew up on that. We're not going to let that die. So with Amelia and her coming up with a whole bunch of options for video game systems,
right?
What are you thinking is she leaning to, or have you introduced her to gaming at all?
I kind of have. I mean, for me, we bought her a tablet, so she has all those access to all those different games.
So like apps?
Yeah, just different apps.
Okay.
So it's nothing as extreme as like a PlayStation 4.
It's not the same handheld feel.
It's not a handheld.
She doesn't have a controller.
It's not a controller. Everything is all on the screen, and she just does her thing. I mean, majority of her games now, since she's like 2 years old, like I said, it's just apps, and it's really just tied into like Sesame Street or like Peppa Pig or whatever is going on at the time, and they're all just learning based games. They're not like hack and slash kind of a game. They're just your typical.
Okay, so how long has she had a tablet? At what age did you introduce? Because I mean, essentially, this is her introduction into technology.
Yeah. So I introduced it to her. Well, I mean, I bought the tablet probably about 8 months ago. I'd say. No, not 8 months ago. 6 months ago.
What was the rationale?
The rationale was that she kept taking my phone all the time, and I got things to take care of, and I want to enjoy my technology as much as anybody else would, but I had to do something about it, and I wanted to purchase a tablet for her that would be efficient and that could withstand all the childproofing and all that mess that they go through, because kids get really nasty.
Yeah.
And
because they're kids,
and I hate it whenever I get my phone back and it has all that nastiness, like like food stuff and smears.
Because it's not meant for them.
It's not. So
I want to dive into that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that Amelia was taking your phone and like you would get it back nasty. So where is this notion that she needs to have a phone as like a replacement? Like,
well, I think it's just because nowadays it's like, before we had technology, we had to come up with other means for our kids to have entertainment.
Those means are not extinct.
They're not extinct, and we will get into that in just a little bit or later on. But just for the sake of just shutting her down, letting her be quiet and being in the zone, and I don't know, it's for her, it's like an instantaneous thing where it's instant gratification. She can automatically go to these apps, play her games. She can go watch Sesame Street. She can actually access Netflix. She has her own Netflix account.
Yeah,
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's very very peculiar. Like when we're introducing our kids to technology at such a young age. Like Lexi got her first tablet at 5.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean, different age difference. It might be around the same time, honestly, if we do the timeline. But just us as parents, especially as fathers, like knowing what we're doing. We both grew up essentially without that technology till a certain age. Our parents found other ways, other methods around it. Why in our generation do we feel like that is the quick fix for the instant gratification that, hey, my child is antsy, or my child wants something like this, and I'm just going to give it to them. I'm going to get them some form of technology to keep them at bay.
I mean, first things, let's just say this, is that it's up to the parents' discretion on whether you should get them that technology or not. It just so happens in my situation, I felt the need that it was necessary, but limit her to a certain amount of things. And to kind of answer your question, like I said, it's just to keep them quiet and occupied, so we won't have to go to those archaic things of yesteryear, of technology, and that's just a matter of, taking her out, going doing something,
I think you still have to do it. You have to create some type of balance.
You still, because
but I do see a generational shift. Like even like when I'm working at church and I'm in the back of the church and I can see when there's kids or just young adults, like the whole shift of paying attention and attention span is always shifted to some form of technology.
Yeah.
They have to have something in their hands to keep them occupied versus the way essentially I grew up is like, all right, there is no other option.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting some distraction. I need you to learn to control yourself, learn some patience, and learn how to focus and roll with situations. Because what happens now when you take away that tablet?
Then
Amelia's not happy, is she?
Is not happy, yeah. And I don't want her to be reliant to that, but the thing about technology now is that it's just so efficient that we don't have...
That's debatable.
I mean... To me, it's just efficient to the point where, I mean, why do we have to go and buy all these separate items to appease? I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying her toys. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But I say, like, everything is all in one place. Everything is there. She can learn. She can, maneuver some things. She can watch shows. Everything is compiled into one device.
I appreciate the comprehensiveness of technology when it comes to like educational functions. So no, we don't have to necessarily break out the textbooks, or we don't have to do the Fisher Price learning games type things. But there is some value in that, to have something tangible outside of an electronic device that's run off a battery that is essentially in today's age programming them that I have to be connected to something, and that what that connection is, the internet. So getting back into like Amelia, so she has this tablet, and of course I'm pretty sure you have parental controls, but the tablet is essentially based off having connection to the internet.
So anybody can just literally hack my daughter's tablet. And I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing bad in there, but I am saying that, that's a downside about having the tablet. And that's something that, me and the mother have to talk about. Like, these are the things. I mean, yes, granted, it's going to keep her entertained, but the downside is that, like, it's access to the internet, which leaves it open to anybody to access.
Super dangerous. So super like dangerous, in the aspects of like Alexia, so like she got it at 5, so that's right before school starting and everything. So she's starting off her educational basis on the fact that, like I said, she has to be connected to something. She has to have some type of device to keep her entertained or for her to learn. So traditional methods like textbooks and everything else weren't really effective for her. But I mean, having her growing up knowing that she has access to the internet, as she grows up and I increase the parental controls as her mind expands, it became more of a conflict. Like, why can't I do this? Or why is this blocked? And I mean, it comes down to having a conversation, but is that really deemed necessary? Do we have to have this open access do we have to introduce our kids to the internet so early on? Knowing that we grew up with the World Wide Web being introduced and knowing that there's so many possibilities of things that can happen with the internet. Yes, there's controls to it, but it's always a loophole.
I think it's a new day and age in technology. Things are changing drastically every single time. We have new things coming out. So it would behoove us as parents to kind of guide them into technology, or in this case,
that's good too.
Guide them into the internet. Because who knows? Like our kid could be like computer science majors, or they can, they're
teaching it
they
in
can do
school.
IT. Yeah. I mean, which is fine, but like, I think at this point in 2019, it's kind of already given. Like we have to introduce our kids to the internet because that's all it is now. Like eventually every technological thing, even this mic and this podcast or whatever we're on right now, is going to be hooked up to the internet one way or another. Like that's what I foresee. And that's a scary thing because who knows, like, and I know this is very conspicuous and I could be putting out conspiracy out there, but I mean, the government is probably controlling all this.
There's a lot of backing to that theory.
Yeah. So I'm not putting that out there for you guys to scare you, but
no, there's I mean, you can look into it essentially. Yeah. There's a lot of consumerism that comes into it.
Yeah.
Just the internet and in total, like the fact of we're us paying for the internet and them being able to control our bandwidth and then control, I forgot what the bill was that we were debating probably about a year ago.
Yeah.
About them being able to control our bandwidth and control what sites we can go to and everything. It'll come to me later.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the questions I want to pose for you as our kids are growing up with this power and this knowledge, are you prepared for them to outsmart you in the internet?
I think it's inevitable. I think they will outsmart us. Like it's gonna be that, because think about right now, like our parents couldn't text message back in the day. Like when we were introduced to the new Nokia phone and we were getting, text messaging and, all these other kinds of things and instant email, parents were having a hard time. So in retrospect, it's going to be the same thing for us where things are going to be so technologically advanced that we'll become obsolete in some form or fashion unless we keep ourselves updated. Yeah,
you got to keep yourself updated.
No pun intended. I'm just saying that, like, we got to keep ourselves updated on that technology in order to be sufficient for the future. But
I'm all for that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, the internet is going to go way beyond our own means, and that's just the way I see it. But you just have to stay informed altogether.
Yeah, I think definitely us staying informed for our generation will help us keep our children at bay. I'm all for rationing internet usage though for our kids. Yeah. So I mean, every parent has a different lifestyle and different ideals with it. Parental controls are one thing, but also, like I said, I'm all for like really rationalizing that time. Like, do you need to be on the internet? Do you need to have this device that is connected to the internet? No. So we talk on gaming system, like even like Alexia's Nintendo Switch, like it has to be connected to the internet to download new games, but it's not. I've set it up to where the functionality is where she can play her games and I can turn off the Wi-Fi for it. Yeah. But in any other situation, any game system that she gets on is connected to the internet, and that allows her to bridge off into these other realms that I can't control anymore.
Exactly. And like I said, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. And like I said, we just have to, we talked about this in our previous episode, but, we should just definitely set the tone on where to go, inform them on certain things and go from there. I have no problem with it, but at the same time, it is scary and I have to be cautious of that.
Yeah, early on. You haven't really been presented with the true challenge. But I mean, you have kids at your workplace
all the time,
and they have access to the internet, so you see. And I mean, the future of it,
and even in my lesson plans and curriculum, everything is tied around my technology. For instance, I use Google Classroom.
Yeah, and
that's just that's just a program where kids can submit their work, and I can put out an assignment. It's going to become to that point where, I don't know, like we no longer need books anymore. I mean, we're switching away from that now. Everything is
transitioning.
Everything is transitioning to digital stuff now. And heck, even in Mansfield ISD, like they have it where iPads are given to every single student, and all the books you need is in this iPad, which is why I go back to Amelia. Like everything is consolidated into one package. So why not start off early? You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You know,
Like, I'm all for the educational aspect, but I mean, there's
also that aspect,
the social aspect,
the social aspect,
so,
because we also have social media.
Yeah, I would say when it comes down to technology, let's think about the technology in which you use it for.
Yeah.
So I mean, we already kind of ruled out gaming. Well, you game now.
I game now,
Not
just casually,
growing up,
nothing
yeah.
too crazy, but yeah. But
I mean, that's internet.
But that's still internet, yeah.
Your phone. Your laptop.
Yep.
Phone, I'm assuming, is primarily for personal and social use. Laptop, maybe research. I don't know. It's usually a Geico. You don't really get into another guy's laptop. I don't know what else you could be doing. But these are things that our kids are seeing, and those are traits that they're picking up. So even like you said in the beginning, like Amelia sees you on your phone, and she wants to be on your phone as well.
Yeah.
So with all the different devices that we use and all different aspects of technology that we use, how are we going to cater those to our kids and get them to understand? Because they're growing up with access to everything. Like, the kids are getting laptops and tablets in school. I didn't get one until college, till I needed one.
Yeah.
I didn't get a phone till my senior year of high school where I needed one.
Yeah.
They're not in the age of need. It's a need. It's an age of want.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to get it because it's instant gratification, because it'll keep them at bay.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that we can continue to like guide them in a more productive pattern?
That's a very good question.
It is. Yeah. I mean, that's the challenge of our future generation.
What do y'all think out there who's listening to us? Do you think are there any other productive ways on enhancing or improving the usage of this technology, such as like phones, tablets, laptops, that kind of stuff? Like I said, I'm for one can say that it's going to be a large challenge for me as a parent, but all I can say is that it's better to inform them on that and just try to let them know how it all worked out. Yeah.
No, I agree. It's coming down to information, and my answer would be essentially information has to be relayed through the adult or through the parents.
Yeah.
We know with kids growing up, they're going to pull information from everywhere, and them having access to the internet, that gives them unlimited options of where they can pull. But if information is disseminated through the parent, like, hey, like, here is the tablets. Here's what the tablet's for. It's for reading. Like Alexia, I say a tablet, but Alexia had a Kindle.
Yeah.
So that was primarily for reading. So when you want to read books, this is what the tablet is for. Mm-hmm. This is the functionality I'm using it for. When you see me with the tablet, I'm reading a book on it. So you need to understand that outside of the book, there's no other functionality that you should be working on. When Alexia sees me on a laptop, I have a work laptop. I am doing work. I am reading emails, and I'm doing research. So
you're showcasing to your child.
Yes, you have to have those conversations. Because if not, Lexi gets her own laptop, and she has access to the internet. It's just kind of like, okay, I can do whatever I want. There's no structure implemented in her to say, hey, I have a laptop for a specific purpose.
Yeah, that I can agree with. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good. I mean, but switching it over to that, we're talking about games, we're talking about laptops, all these different types of technology. As far when would you like introduce the whole gaming thing to your kid? Like, how would you because we have games everywhere, on all these different devices.
Each device, different age level for gaming. Because of how I was upbringing, like I said, with my lineage of Nintendo, I tried to start Alexia off early. So I got her the 3DS. So I tried to get her on that, and then got her the Wii, and then I got her the Nintendo Switch. I believe I'm truly blessed with a child who doesn't really feeds into technology, but not the gaming side. Yeah. Alexia being a creative, she would rather do something. She would rather not be in front of a screen. For when it comes to a game. Games aren't necessarily entertaining for her. Mm-hmm. She would rather draw or paint or sing or do something else. But I mean, I still like to give it to her for like a healthy outlet. To me, for my childhood, it created balance. I would go outside, I would play sports, and I can come inside and I can play games. A balance, a duality. So I presented to her for that reason. It doesn't seem like she's growing interest in it, but she can't ever say in her childhood that I didn't provide her an aspect of gaming. It was around her. It was offered to her. She just didn't buy into it. But she does buy into other forms of technology.
Like?
I mean, the phone, that's the biggest one. We can get into, that's probably going to be the biggest part.
Did you ever get her that phone, by the way, for Christmas?
No, not at all.
No? Why is that? Why didn't she give her the phone? I'm just out of curiosity.
I'm standing firm on this. I mean, in regards to this topic, I don't believe she should have access to a phone and its technology at 10 years old.
Okay.
There's absolutely no need.
So how would she get her sources as far as education is concerned? Like, how would you?
It would be through my laptop.
Okay. What if she needs it for like an extensive period of time where you would still like say it's on your laptop?
Yeah. In what situation is a child away from either one of her parents and wouldn't be able to use their laptop or any of the devices?
I mean, what about like if she wants to contact you, you just take it back to the old school ways and just call you on the landline?
She has two parents and she's around adults who have cellular devices. Oh, man. She does not need to own her own.
I can understand that. I think
we grew up perfectly fine learning how to contact an adults or our parents without having access to a mobile network.
Understand. But I think like in this day and age, it's a whole different aspect. I mean, granted, I support you on the whole cell phone thing, but I think like
I'm pretty sure Amelia's gonna get a phone before 10.
I think no, I mean we'll gauge it and see. It's just a matter of. But
I'm calling it.
But I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying that it would be beneficial if she did have a phone.
What are the pros? List them.
A phone call to the parents, access to the internet.
In what situation is she
and like
calling?
And like
outside of convenience.
She's 10, right? I'm just thinking. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking out loud. She's 10.
Yeah.
So
outside of just conveniences, I just want to pick up the phone and call.
Like my thing. Well, what I'm trying to get to is, are you afraid that she's probably gonna download like apps of some sort?
I mean, that is a strong possibility, but I mean, it's cutting it off at the root type thing. Yeah. You don't need access to that.
But we can just go ahead. I mean, not even like a brick phone, like a Nokia brick phone, or like a flip phone. Like I'm just saying, like it's an easy way to.
The basis of my logic is to create the structure that you need to always be around an adult that you trust. Who
I don't know how I feel about that.
Why?
Like who can you trust? I mean, it's just like,
I mean, if you're in school, ideally it will be the teachers, and that relies on the parents. You need to vet out your teachers.
True.
And then after that, you should go from school to the household.
Yeah. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I think, in my opinion, like, at least give her like,
I think that's pure convenience.
That's pure convenience just for her. Like, I understand, like, you don't have to download apps onto a phone. I get that part. But at least give her the common decency of
what
just
is the common decency of 10. You don't
just the common decency.
You have no responsibilities. You haven't earned any common decency. True. Your job is to go to school.
Yeah, we could have a conversation.
That's for any child under the age. I would bring it down to 15. I was gonna say 16, but 15 you're preparing to drive. So
yeah.
That's when life you're given true responsibilities and true expectations. At 10, no, go to school and have fun.
Okay.
And
so when will you give her a phone? How about that?
If it's just me, it's 15.
15?
Yeah.
Why 15?
Like I said, that's when life is starting to really get surreal. That means you've had 15 years of structure to understand how to navigate this world and not be dependent on a device.
Okay.
So when I'm entrusting you with the device and a year later, an automobile, I have enough backing to know that you can survive if one of these two go out. These kids today, if their phone goes out, they don't know where they're going.
That's true.
They don't know how to contact people. They're not even memorizing numbers.
Nah, you're right about that. You're right about that. But I'm just saying that I'm not saying that kids can't access it or they can't maneuver through the phone.
There's adults. If their
adults.
phone goes out, their world is crashing. And we haven't even got onto the aspect of social media. The negative aspects of that. We're just talking about the primary functions of phone,
so
GPS.
You're just saying
and texting.
So you're just saying that like if we don't have phones or any kind of technology, we'll probably be like losing our minds in some form. Or
there's some adults. I mean, I just wrapped up a fast where I limited my phone to really just phone calls and text messages. Yeah. And there was a legitimate challenge to it. I mean, I do enjoy social media. Yeah. I do enjoy music and access to the internet and everything.
Yeah.
We have grown accustomed to it, but I can go without. In this new generation, the way that they're growing and how they're getting devices at early ages, I mean 2 to 5, I mean for either one of our kids, that is going to be extremely hard. Like I said, we've talked about what happens when you take a device away from Amelia. Same thing would happen if I take a device.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, if you wanted to rob a kid or distract a kid, you take their phone and they're stuck.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, but I think you should not also limit them to the idea that like even though that this technology is dangerous, and in some cases, still give them the benefit of like let's like guide them into that, or let's at least
like I said, if my best avenue or my best solution is that allows me to navigate technology with my daughter, and I can promote it in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So like I said, we talked about like with gaming so that part doesn't really phase Alexia, but like with her Kindle and then moving on to iPad, like understanding, hey, iPad does have this capability, so you can FaceTime, you can iMessage through these type of things. So stepping it up progressively to understand, okay, this was that device, it was primarily for reading. Now you have a new device with new permissions. Still not really not going to the internet, but like, hey, you can message now. You can do a FaceTime. That's the new limits of your growth.
Yeah.
I trust you for this.
Yeah, so you're gonna give it to her little by little. Yeah.
You have to control it.
Yeah. No, and that's perfectly fine. I'm cool with that. That's what I was trying to say. Like, you can give her a phone, right?
We're not our phone.
I know. We're not but you're the parent. I completely understand. You can give her the phone whenever you want to, or which is at 15 at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that like
if she's lucky.
But I'm saying that like at least give her, a regular flip phone, or like something that doesn't really have access to the internet. It's just more on the realm of, I can give you a phone call, I can text you in case if I need something as far as emergency is concerned.
I've thought about that as I continue to allow her to be more independent, and she has these in-between situations where she might not have a trusted adult as readily as she should. But I mean, I'm more preparing for the words that you need to be able to identify any situation.
And you can just walk her through it. Like, here's my contact, only 2 contacts. Granted, these kids, I really don't care about what the other kids say.
That's what I was about to get into. Yeah. In today's society, you're setting your child up for a lot of other things. I'm not a kid, and I haven't spoken to kids to get their real feedback on this. Yep. But I would venture to say I would rather not have a phone than have a phone that is inadequate compared to others. Because now you're setting your child up for bullying.
And the huge problem right now in this day and age is cyberbullying. And I understand that, like, would you rather give her the phone? Or like, let's just say for the sake of this argument, we give her a flip phone, and the kids take a picture like, oh, look at Lexi with this old flip phone. Like, who do you think she is?
At that point, I've done more damage than help.
You've done more damage than help, but it's just...
She's not going to want to use the flip phone that she's getting clowned on to call me.
So she's going to lose it or break it and then say, oh yeah, I lost it and I'm not going to mess with that anymore. But... I mean, you gotta weigh your options on that part, and that's the thing I don't like about social media, because, kids are posting videos everywhere. Like, people are like just putting out everything that they can, and in the moment like something sparks, like it goes viral, and it could be a good thing or a bad thing, which is scary for me. But
yeah, like I mean, if we're getting into social media, that is a whole dangerous realm. Before we get there, I just wanted to also, you brought up a whole nother tangent that I didn't even think about, the financial aspect of bringing your kids into the phone world. Like that's a whole nother device that you have to pay for.
I mean, you got phone plans. I mean, and
yeah, but you still is still financially costing you.
You still got to pay
upkeep.
that. Yeah, upkeep. Well,
so yes, if you get a new phone, as your child continues to grow older, they're going to want a new phone as well.
Right. But I mean, going back to what you were saying, I don't think it should just be like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and just give you a new, like, you need to, what you said, you need to earn that phone. Like, you need to get to that point where, okay, I can trust you with the phone. Yeah. That's why, that's why.
But I think that I get a phone every other year.
Yeah.
Ideally, neither one of our kids are bad. Yeah. With the trusting level, they're going to surpass that within 2 years. So every 2 years, in addition to your new phone, you're getting them a new phone.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and then especially we get talking about technology, but we're not talking about how things phase out.
I'm just gonna say, like, hey, tough. You're gonna have to just roll with it, because, like I gave you this, and you can just have to work with it. Like, we didn't have the luxury.
So that's where you put your foot down?
That's what, no. Like, I mean, like I said, I'll give them the chance to do that. I'm probably gonna run into some like people are making fun of me, and and that's whenever I have to cut the cord. Like, all right, we're gonna have to figure out another game plan.
What's the other? I'm curious to see what the other game plan is. Once you open that door,
I mean, no, the other game plan is just like, hey, just what you what you doing right now, like, just put your trust. Okay, I'm sorry, I just can't roll with the whole trusting another adult thing, because that's the thing right there. Is like, we have a phone, so it's immediate, but whenever you have to rely on somebody else, then that puts a burden on that person, so
what burden are we speaking of?
What burden are we speaking of is, I mean, well,
any
not just
adult that's been placed in charge of children is responsible for their care and for their needs. So if something happens, they need to contact the parent.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, from the hours of 8 to 5, I shouldn't be hearing from Alexia. I should be hearing from another adult.
Yeah.
Anything Alexia has done should be witnessed by another Justin. Adult. Exactly.
This is Mr. Blah 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 blah.
That is exactly what we grew up on. You weren't hopping on. Yeah. I mean, unless you got in trouble.
That's 2019, man, not 2009 or
I mean, those principles worked.
Those principles do work.
Alexia calling me in the middle of the day because someone said something nasty to her. No, go tell the adult who's closer to you and who can actually reprimand. I can't do anything at that point.
You're right, but
Alexia getting out of school saying, hey, I got out of school, which is great, but you're supposed to get out of school. Yeah. What are you supposed to do next?
Yeah.
You're either going after school program or you're coming home. Yeah. Like, follow through. We've adapted ourselves to this level of instant gratification, like you said, where it's like, all right, I feel the need that I need to update or I need to say something and I need immediate recognition. Like I said, Lexi get out of school. She wants to call me because she got out of school. Hey, I got out of school. Yes, it's 3:15. What else would you be doing? I'm at work.
Ooh. Well, we'll agree to disagree on this one. I mean, I'm like I said, I haven't reached that point just yet.
It's coming.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm saying Amelia will have a phone by 7.
Nah. I wouldn't say 7. We ain't that. And even if she does get a phone at 7, it's gonna probably be a flip phone.
That's fine. But, I mean, that's fine. I doubt you would never give her a flip phone.
Why you said that?
No, even with Alexia, I would never give her a flip phone. Just knowing the ramifications of what that causes.
That's true.
So,
but going back to social media though, because this is a hot hot thing to talk about, where we're constantly facing this social media thing. How do you think we avoid these problems with social media and cyberbullying and all this other kinds of stuff? Like, do we like, should we still give them that advantage of like, all right, here's the phone anyways, or should we just? That's just my
Well,
question.
apparently I'm radical. I mean, I'm take all phones away from kids, but that's not the reality of it. So
Yeah.
even with Alexia, like Alexia does have access to the internet as much as I try to police it. She has friends who, just like we would go over friends' houses to play video games and watch movies and stuff. She has friends who have phones, so she has access to social media.
Yeah.
And there's not much you can truly do because how easy access to the internet is and how easy it is to get a device. I mean, you can just get a dummy device connected to Wi-Fi, and now you have a functioning phone. Mm-hmm. So I have had to deal with her in these social media outbreaks where she'll get on Instagram or she'll create an Instagram real quick, and then it'll get deleted, or she'll create a new email. Honestly, conversation and reprimand is the only way you can kind of guard away from it. You have to have those conversations like what I had to have that conversation like what is the internet?
Yeah.
To you, it's just something that you grew up with. It's a button. To me, it's access to unlimited data and unlimited resources that you're not prepared to mentally handle.
Yeah.
So I had to sit down and explain to her like the good, the bad, and the ugly about the internet and why I can't trust you on it. Mm-hmm. I love you, but I can't do that for you. I don't believe that is appropriate for you, and the harm is going to outweigh the benefit of me just giving you that access. But in typical 10-year-old fashion, where there's a will, there's a way.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna find a way.
Definitely.
It's gonna happen. Like where they are going to.
I just refuse to give in.
Yeah, and that's understandable. But I think like since the media and communication companies are literally like when the baby is born, putting a tablet or a phone in a baby's hand. That's their thing. All phones in everybody's hands, or some type of mobile device in everybody's hands. We can't avoid it, and I commend you for actually holding back and be like, and that's cool. I'm not gonna give Amelia. I'm just gonna say it right now, Amelia, if you're hearing this right now at whatever age you're listening to this, you're not getting a phone until you are deemed necessary.
I mean, you have a whole opposite side that can.
I know, but I don't know. I like I said, I'm gonna play it by ear. I haven't reached that point yet, but
it's coming.
It's coming. But I will say that I do enjoy the fact that that she's playing video games and she's learning from that kind of stuff, and I'm a little leery because of course I wanna. Whenever she gets older, I want to introduce her to like all these games that I played, so like, Uncharted or Crash Bandicoot or, like just the classics. But there's always been this video game epidemic where, we're talking about violence as far as video games is concerned and how that correlates to real world. What do you think of that? Like, when would you...
I mean, in regards to that, I think it does just tie down to early access. So, I mean, same thing with social media and understanding that they're getting access to violence, sex, drugs. Same thing when it comes down to video games. I mean, the games that you play around them, that's giving them access to these thoughts and notions that aren't native to a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
A 10-year-old doesn't wake up one day and say, hey,
I'm going to go ahead and just...
I want to go...
do some hood stuff.
I mean, I want to go, shoot zombies.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's something that we fed into them due to our nature and our preferences in technology. Yeah. And they're only receptive to it. Like, that's what they see. So if they see mom and dad playing Grand Theft Auto and they hear... cursing, or they see lewd acts or nudity or something, or just violence. We're playing Call of Duty. I've never been one of those. I've never been a fan of those franchises. So for me, it was always like, hey, we're playing Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
or Mario or Zelda or something like that.
Within that, like Super Smash Brothers is a good example where we have characters beating up each other. You know?
But I mean, on the grand scheme of things, that's very soft violence. No blood.
There's no blood. Yeah.
Whatsoever. Nintendo's been pretty firm on that.
Yeah.
And it's very stylized animation. It's clearly animation.
Yeah.
Even as Nintendo continues to grow, they've always kept a very like, this is for play. PlayStation and Xbox, one of their claim to fame is that they're making it more realistic.
Yeah.
What is the latest? I think Red Dead
Redemption 2. Like, yes.
It's a very realistic game.
It's a very realistic.
You're making real time choices.
Yep.
And so as a kid who's playing this up in their early adolescence, where it's like, hey, I'm playing a game for hours upon hours. I mean, there's people who've beat the game, or like, that's the thing, you get a new game, how quick can I beat it type thing. I like to enjoy games over time.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I beat this game in 12 hours per se. Or I think realistic is like a 40-hour gameplay type thing. So I spent 40 hours of me going through this story of me killing, robbing, and all these different acts.
Right.
And down to the individual motions of like, I'm stabbing somebody.
Yeah.
That is going to register in a kid's mind.
Yeah.
And I don't see any positive outlet for that. But I'm not opposed if that's how people...
So you think the violent video games is going to like basically in turn into real world violence?
I think it can go two ways. It can turn into real world violence. I'm pretty sure if we pulled up statistics on any type of serial killers or mass murderers, they do probably have a heavy gaming influence or some type of violent outlets. But also it comes to a point of where they become null to violence. Like, violence doesn't affect them in any type of way because
they're desensitized.
Yeah, they're desensitized to it. So, and especially in our recent past years, essentially, of just dealing with the media showcasing deaths. Yeah. Like, if you listen to news every other day, somebody has died, and then you can see the imagery of it, and you hear the full story of it. That truly affects myself and some other people.
Right.
But for people who've grown up in those environments and also learned it through gaming, like, hey, yeah, somebody died on the news, but I mean, I killed 30 people last night online.
Yeah.
It completely desensitizes them to the true value of life. Like, right. Especially when you're putting that extensive amount of gameplay into, like I said, 40 hours to beat a game. That's a work week.
Yeah.
And for kids who don't work, there's more time than they're putting into school.
True.
So that becomes more of a reality than the actual reality of that they need to live in. Yeah. And we're not even talking about, them playing online. So they're having conversations with other people who put in 50 hours. Mm-hmm. So now I have a yearning to, okay, how can I be better at this?
Yeah.
Or how can I spend more time in this world?
So I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, because video games and that tell is more about problem solving. And I can understand that like violent video games such as shooting and stealing and everything like that, there is some form of frustration that comes into it. There's a couple of studies about how, video games, how does it affect us as people in correlation to the real world. And quite frankly, there's really no evidence to actually prove that video games do that to people. As a matter of fact, like based on certain things, like when video game sales went up, violence came down, and this is just from studies that I found. Okay. And the thing about it is that it's easier to blame video games than to actually address certain issues. You know what I'm saying? It's that's what the media has always put down on us. And the whole
this is you taking a stance as a gamer.
I'm taking a stance as a gamer because it's like, look, I love games. It's a way to escape out of all that reality. How are these kids who are involved in how are they accessing these guns? Do you have a gun in your house by any chance?
No, that gets into our gun laws.
Yeah. But if you don't have a gun, and I'm not saying that you're going to introduce Lexi to any violent games anytime soon. But let's just say, for instance, for the sake of this argument, you guys decide to play zombies together on Call of Duty, right? And you guys are going at it. And I don't think it's going to be like a bad ordeal. It's just like two people having fun. I mean, it could be the same way as like any other medium, like where you're going out to go watch a movie. And
yeah, that's a very strong point. That's why there's ratings. There's a rating system that the world just decides to ignore. And there's a whole PG-13 rating system that people just feel like even are restricted. Like they feel like I'm just gonna bring my child and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
No, they took the time to put a rating system together.
Yeah.
And to answer your question about guns and video game correlation, if I don't play a video game with my
guns.
daughter with guns, she has no clue what an AK-47 is. That's not in any textbooks. I don't know if you learned that in school.
No, I did not learn
any
that.
Textbooks.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be anything that I'm bringing. I don't own a gun. The only way she's learning this is through friends. And through the game that I'm playing, which is showing I support this. I'm okay with this, and I'm not. So hey, I cut that all the way off.
Yeah, and that's why I was gonna bring it back to the whole idea of like, it is up to the parents' discretion on if you want to show your kid this or not. That's completely fine. But as far as like blaming violent video games for real world violence, that doesn't make any sense.
Access to typically violent, I think violent acts are derived from family upbringings and family access.
Okay, that I can agree with. Yes.
So, but part of that is you actually seen violence, or you've seen stylized violence via through social media, the internet, gaming, music. Is coming in through some avenue that a parent can, to a certain degree, control.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's all I'm pretty much saying as a whole.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to the internet in existence. I know my child is growing up in it, and future generations are going to continue to grow into it, and they're going to outsmart me eventually. But us as fathers, we have to maintain as much control of it as possible, because if we don't control it, somebody else is going to control it. And then we have to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. All in all, I think for me, it's just more of like, there's nothing wrong with kind of introducing your kids to other things. Like we understand that it's inevitable. Like, our kids are definitely going to outsmart us because of the internet. Like, it's going to be that way. And so therefore, kind of inform them, and just going back what you're saying, just teach them what's going on, model them what's best for them. If you want to go ahead and use your laptop, that's perfectly fine too. But overall, I don't think just a little side step on your point is that you should not hinder a kid on certain things, because eventually that will be like the most necessary thing that is going to be used in the future. Sorry, but with that being said, I mean, look, like, video games have come a long way.
Technology has come a long way.
Technology has come a long way. Like, I remember the time whenever, like just yesterday I was playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, or I was playing Mortal Kombat with my brother.
Retro games.
Games.
Like I said in the beginning, retro games is a whole industry now.
We had no internet. It was just me and whoever's with me present at that time. And that's something that's very enjoyable. I, for one, can say that I didn't think about like, ooh, after this game, I'm going to cause harm to this person physically, to where it's a life-changing ordeal for others. That wasn't my take. And I just don't like it when people put this idea that video games is the overall problem of all these other issues. Like, what I mean by that is like, like, there are other things that we can focus on to address these issues. Like, we have educational disabilities, we have employment disabilities, we have just all these other things. Like, how, and then on top of that, how did these kids get access to these guns. It's just something that we should really look into.
I mean, I agree to a certain extent. I believe it's not the sole issue or the sole intent with video games, but I do believe there is a decent enough correlation. Like you mentioned that you were playing Tony Hawk the other day.
Yeah.
You also skateboard, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Or longboard. So in some form or fashion, you playing Tony Hawk has some influence on you skateboarding as an adult.
Yeah.
Video games and media and internet access at such a young age while you're still developing has an influence on you. That is my point. So in order to curtail the influence as adults, as fathers, as parents, we have to control the information that is given.
But my point here is that
it can be good or bad.
No, it can be good or bad, but like what I'm saying is like video games should not be the sole purpose of overall violence. I think that's what people are missing, that it's just an easy thing to blame. But I'm also saying that there are also other games out there that are just as good, if not better, you know, where you don't have to like slay somebody, or you have to kill like a million zombies, or you have to
every game has additional features. Like I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure in today's age there are games where you're just directly just killing people. But even all the games that I mentioned before, there's a storyline, there's an adventure. It teaches you problem solving. Yeah. But it's taking the good with the bad. Yes, I know how to.
Yeah. I just want to escape. That's it. Like reality is hard enough as it is, you know, and you're working, 40 hours a week. And it's a lot on a person, and it's just like everybody else. Like we go to the gym to go work out.
Yes, everybody just ain't built the same. Like
everybody's just not built the same. But
escape from reality. Yes, I mean that video games work for some people, gym work for others. Yeah. It's just kind of finding your fit, but I'm still going to place a certain level of responsibility on video games. Into the level of influence that it has, good, bad, or indifferent. Yeah. Well, I mean, those are our thoughts on it. Love to hear everyone else's thoughts on it, especially in regards to, we talked about video games, but also in regards to other devices, and just the increasing level of technology that our current generation and our future generations are going to have to encounter. How do we as parents get ahead of the game? Do we get ahead of the game? What ages can we, prepare for our children to be adequate for these? We want to know everyone's thoughts on it. What age did you get these devices? So for all feedback and responses, please follow us. Everything has Stay DADicated. So there's going to be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Mm-hmm. Continue listening to the podcast on SoundCloud and on YouTube. Yeah. We do have some new platforms coming up, so stay tuned for that. But thank you for listening to our show today. And so until we catch you next time, stay DADicated.